Hello everyone. Welcome to this video. We're going to be discussing the energies of this upcoming lunar eclipse that's going to be March 25th, happening in the sign of Libra. I want to express this Libra energy as really clearing out relationship dynamics that are no longer in our highest good, no longer healthy for us, releasing this programming that we've been given within our upbringing, that's very like codependent, like as women especially, watching Disney movies from being a young child, and they all have this same like motif of the prince coming in and the happily ever after story. And so we're really indoctrinated since childhood with this belief that if once we find this other person, this special person that will complete us, and then we will be happy. When you enter into a partnership with somebody, it really does serve to amplify the happiness, the healing, and also the wounds, and it really can bring things up to the surface that really need to be healed. The biggest way that we heal on this planet is through the mirror of our other selves. Being able to see every other person as a reflection and a mirror of you. So that's really like the lesson of this Libra energy. So if we were to look back about 6 months ago, we had another eclipse in Libra, which was a solar eclipse, which was a full moon. And so maybe think back to the middle of October and what was happening for you then, and see if you've integrated some lessons from then, specifically around the way that you show up in relationship. And also, like, give yourself some credit and some grace for how far you have come since then. There's some really strong, really supportive aspects of this moon. One being a trine with Pluto. And this is really supporting our ability to make decisions of radical change. Seeing the space that exists between an event and our reaction to it. So being able to have that awareness in those moments before we get triggered, and being able to give ourselves some love and some understanding. A lot of this can come down to thinking of it as caring for our inner children. Our attachment styles are established when we were really young and have to do with our relationship with our caregivers. And so as adults, many of us have had to go through this process of like reparenting our inner children. So being able to notice what your inner child needs in a certain moment, and really being able to give it to them. Triggers, as uncomfortable as it can be, are really an opportunity for healing and self-reflection. So right around the same time, we have Venus and Saturn really close together. And so, even in the sign of Pisces, this is an energy of seeing how the structures and the boundaries that we have in relationships are actually serving us to be able to have that deeper connection of intimacy. Because sometimes we can get into a relationship and, it can get foggy where that person ends and you begin. And I think there are moments where it's appropriate, like during very deep sensual, like erotic experiences, where you do merge with that person and have this ecstatic, like rapturous experience, but then being able to step back out of that and still remain in your energetic sovereignty. So what I'm feeling with this is it may be necessary to create some separation, just like working with your inner child or different inner parts, such as like in internal family systems. You could see your internal masculine and your internal feminine. The beautiful synergy that is possible when those energies come together. But I'm feeling that this might be a time where it can be necessary to work individually with these different parts of you. So like what does my feminine really desire? Maybe it's to go lay by a river and to sing songs and being able to give that part of you that gift of allowing what feels nurturing to that part of you. And then maybe your masculine side is I really want to put together a new health plan where I'm working out and I'm going to try these supplements. And so giving yourself a space for that too. And so when both of these polarities of energy are in sync, then they can work together better in this dance. Also in the sky right now, Lilith is trine Uranus, and it's also opposite of this Venus and Saturn conjunction. Lilith trine Uranus, that's a really expansive, even explosive kind of energy. And we don't have to go far into nature to really see how she, openly displays sex as a celebration. And humans can have so much shame around this, but I love this as an expansion of, bringing up that sensual erotic energy, but then can you expand that to feeling in love and connected with all of life, and have this be a remedy to our feelings of separateness, our feelings of isolation, and to really feel into the truth that, there's no possibility that we could be isolated in our experience. And that's really just coming from the mind, because the truth is how interconnected and integrated we are with all of life. All of the life that you take into your body every day to support and sustain you. all of the the microbiology that's happening within your system that we're not even aware of. You know, the inherent intelligence of our bodies that keep our hearts beating and our breath flowing without us even having to think about it. And so just feeling into that truth and that reality is proof that, like, there is more than just the ego. And we're really leaving behind this idea of our separate isolation, because that in its root is what causes us to grasp onto people and to have this belief that, like, we need someone to complete us. We're not good enough as we are. And so when we can expand that connection beyond just a single relationship, even if that's a really special, really intimate, really expansive, beautiful relationship, that can still exist. And look at all of these other forms of life that you are also so connected with all the time. It takes off some of the pressure that we can put onto a single person within, like, a codependent dynamic. Our culture teaches us to be so hyper independent, where it's like, I don't need anyone, and the only person I do need is my partner. And that's just not the way that humans have really existed for most of history. Like, we've lived in communities, we've been interconnected, and that's very natural for us. And I think we are coming back around to living more like that, like in sync with each other and in sync with all of the other life of nature. This eclipse being with the south node, there is some energy of releasing from the past. You know, it could be a time even where, like, old partners, like, show up, reach out to you. Like, maybe there is, you know, an important conversation to have, or some grief that you didn't realize was still unprocessed around it. So those are things to look for. And also, it's a great time to do cord cutting. It's a great time to clear energy. It's a great time to be shifting into the exhale versus the inhale, where you're taking things in, you're absorbing information. This is a great time to do the opposite, you know, to get into that Venusian creative energy, to journal, to make art, to create any way that feels good for you, and, like, to connect with you know, the energy of Venus and all the beauty and the life that comes, you know, as spring is beginning. There are stories of, it's the tears from the goddess that nourished all of the plant life to grow, you know. So letting ourselves have some kind of release is going to nurture our future endeavors. So I wish you well on this full moon.